He had the pace, he had the tires, and for a few laps at Monza, it looked like Lewis Hamilton in red was finally about to deliver that breakthrough moment. Starting from P10 after the grid drop, he tore through the midfield like a man on a mission. By lap 18, he was right there, breathing down George Russell's neck, the Ferrari moving with the kind of rhythm that made you believe a podium might just be possible. But here's where the story takes its twist, because the real battle wasn't Hamilton versus Russell, it was Hamilton versus his own pit wall. Russell blinked first, dived into the pits, and opened the perfect undercut window. Everyone watching knew the next move. Lewis should box on the very next lap, cover the stop, and protect his chance at track position. That was the moment, the golden opportunity. And Ferrari said, nothing. No radio urgency, no call to pit, no decisive move. The chance slipped by in silence, and with it, what might have been Hamilton's shot at the top 5. When he finally did stop, it was already too late. The fresh rubber advantage had gone, and Lewis rejoined nearly 5 seconds adrift. That's game over in clean air at Monza. He asked for data, but the pit wall gave him silence. Post-race, the explanation was weak, just brushed off as a coin toss. But this wasn't about luck, this was about execution. And the execution wasn't there. You know what makes this sting even more? This wasn't a chaotic race. No rain, no safety cars, no DNFs. This was one of those rare clean weekends where strategy could shine. And yet, Ferrari didn't pull the trigger. For a 7-time world champion, that silence is louder than any engine. Let me ask you, do you think Ferrari should have called him in immediately when Russell pitted? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments right now. And if you want more sharp, no-nonsense F1 breakdowns like this, subscribe to Fast News F1 and hit the bell. Your support is huge for us as we push toward our goal of 1,000 subscribers. So here's the question that sets up the rest of the story. Was this really just indecision, or was something deeper going on inside Ferrari? When we talk about Monza, strategy is usually straightforward. Low tire degradation, long straights, and massive DRS zones mean that the undercut is almost always the weapon of choice. Fresh tires heat up quickly here, and the lap delta, the time gained with new rubber, is brutal. That's why when George Russell boxed early, every strategist watching expected Ferrari to react instantly with Lewis. It wasn't just smart, it was textbook. But Ferrari didn't move. Instead, they held Hamilton out on worn mediums, asking him to push longer. The idea of an overcut at Monza was never realistic. The data models showed it, the sector times proved it, and even Lewis could feel it behind the wheel. His lap exit started dropping in Sector 2, his tire degradation curve crossed the threshold, and the DRS gap was shrinking. All the alarms were flashing pit now, and still the pit wall hesitated. By the time he finally stopped, the damage was already baked in. Russell was gone, the gap had widened, and Hamilton's chance to fight for track position was finished. That's not just a small tactical miss. That's a decision that rewrote the outcome of his entire race. And when you zoom out, you have to ask, why? Was it really just a data error? Was the pit wall misreading tire life and sector deltas? Or was it something else? Something political? Because the risk of not pitting wasn't a mystery. The overcut almost never works here, which leaves you wondering, were Ferrari simply indecisive, or did they choose not to give Hamilton the aggressive call because of the bigger picture inside the team? And that's where the frustration builds. Lewis did his part on track, but the garage left him exposed. In Formula One, that kind of hesitation costs not just positions, but confidence. So let me throw it to you. Was this a strategy, failure, or a political decision? I'm putting up a simple poll. Pick one and tell me why in the comments. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the tactics, make sure you hit subscribe. It really helps us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and it means you won't miss the next big breakdown. Because the truth is, sometimes strategy mistakes aren't mistakes at all, they're signals. And when we look inside Ferrari, the signals start to tell an even bigger story. If you've been following Ferrari closely, you'll know this isn't just about one missed pit call. It's about the environment Lewis walked into the moment he joined the team. Ferrari's structure, from engineers to strategy leads to simulation priorities, was already built around Charles Leclerc, not out of malice, but out of years of habit. And in Formula One, habits can decide championships. What we saw at Monza wasn't just hesitation, it was a reflection of that hierarchy. Charles got the safer, clearer strategy, and earlier pit call, direct comms, No risks with an overcut that was never going to work. Lewis, on the other hand, was left with vague instructions and a late, reactive stop. The difference is subtle, but in F1, subtlety decides whether you're fighting for a podium or fading in the midfield. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When a team has the top-tier drivers, strategy isn't only about tires or timing. It's about trust. Who gets backed in the split-second decisions? Who gets the aggressive call versus the cautious one? At Monza, Ferrari showed their hand, and it wasn't Lewis in the driver's seat, not strategically anyway. And this is where politics creeps in. Off-record voices inside Maranello have admitted some still see Lewis as a symbol, more than a cornerstone. A driver brought in to boost Ferrari's image during a rebuild, not necessarily to take over the project. That perception is dangerous, because every race where Hamilton is treated like a guest, not the leader, is a race. Lost to politics, not performance. Think about it. The hesitation at Monza didn't just cost Lewis a position. It sent a message, and not a good one. If Ferrari aren't ready to unleash a 7-time world champion at their home race, what does that say about the weekend still to come? Internal splits don't just affect the mood, they shape every call, every risk, every chance at a podium. So let me ask you, do you think it's fair that Lewis has to earn full support at Ferrari, or should he have had it from day one? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want to keep peeling back these behind-the-scenes layers, subscribe now. Your subscription is huge for us as we push toward 1,000 subscribers. Because the deeper you look, the clearer it gets. This isn't only about strategy. It's about whether Ferrari has actually decided who they want to win. Lewis Hamilton has built his career on more than speed. What made him lethal at Mercedes wasn't just his pace. It was his voice. The way he demanded excellence, pushed his engineers, and never accepted excuses. That hunger, that fire, was part of what made him a 7-time world champion. But at Ferrari, the version of Lewis we're seeing feels different. And that difference is dangerous. Listen back to the radio at Monza. There was no fire from the pit wall, no urgency, no sense of a team fighting tooth and nail for track position. It almost sounded like a test session, not a Grand Prix. Lewis asked for data. Silence. He waited for the call. Nothing. And his own words after the race were telling. He didn't sound furious. He didn't sound betrayed. He sounded resigned. We missed the opportunity, he said. Not that cost me the race. Not that strategy was unacceptable, but calm, almost accepting. And that's the worry. Because when Lewis is angry, when he feels underestimated, that's when he's at his most dangerous. That's when he digs deeper, when he finds that extra tenth no one else can match. But a Hamilton who feels ignored. A Hamilton who starts expecting mistakes. That's a Hamilton who risks coasting through weekends instead of fighting for them. You could see it in his body language after Monza. No storming down the pit lane. No visible frustration. Just a quiet shake of the head. It looked like a driver who knows the script and has stopped expecting a rewrite. And if that's really where his head is, Ferrari's season could slip even faster than their strategy calls. So let me put it to you. If you were in Lewis's shoes, would you confront Ferrari publicly and force the issue? Or would you keep it private and try to fix it behind closed doors? Drop your answer below, because that decision might be the key to what comes next. And if you're a Hamilton fan, hit subscribe right now. Your support matters so much. Every click helps us reach that 1,000 subscriber goal and make sure you never miss these breakdowns. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one race. It's about whether Lewis Hamilton still believes Ferrari will ever let him lead. So where does this leave Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari in 2025? After Monza, the picture splits into 3 possible paths. The first is the one every fan wants to see. Ferrari recognized the problem, fixed the internal split, and finally back Lewis with the same trust and aggression they showed Charles. If that happens, podiums are still possible. The car has the pace, and Lewis hasn't lost a step behind the wheel. With the right calls, he could still stand on that box and remind everyone why he's a legend. The second path is the middle ground. Some weekends Ferrari get it right, others they don't. Lewis sneaks the odd-strong finish, but without consistency. That leaves him in the shadows of the title fight, not a contender, but not forgotten either. A season that history books won't remember, but one fans will always debate as what could have been. And then there's the third path, the darkest one. Ferrari continue to hesitate. The hierarchy stays the same. and Lewis finishes the year with no podiums at all. Think about that. 17 seasons at the top, 103 wins, and suddenly a full year in red without even tasting champagne. That's not just disappointing. That's historic in all the wrong ways. So the stakes are massive. Every pit call from now on, every strategy choice, every split-second reaction isn't just about lap times. It's about whether Ferrari lets Lewis Hamilton be more than just the second option in their garage. And if they don't, then maybe this really is the season where silence, not speed, defines the story in red. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these three scenarios do you think plays out? A comeback to podiums, a season of mixed results, or a nightmare year with zero champagne? Vote in the poll, and then drop your reasoning in the comments. And before you click away, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Your subscription is what keeps this channel going, and with your help we'll reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Because if Ferrari can't decide who to back, then maybe it's the fans who get the final say on how this season is remembered.